So the question is, why is it legitimate to study science fiction? For sailors, this is an easy question to answer. Regardless of their academic background, sailors exist in a world defined and surrounded by technology. It is only natural that someone with a love of the sea and the stories she creates would be attracted to science fiction. Good fiction provides an escape from reality, and science fiction has the ability for the audience to escape the limitations of today's speed, time, distance, and landscapes. It takes the plausible and makes it real, the fanciful normal. Though the mechanics and technology may be new, science fiction rhymes with the present just enough to create a structure that is familiar. Around that structure, the author can tell stories and place personalities that any sailor will recognize as being familiar to their personal place and time. In these stories, we can explore the personal, moral, tactical, or strategic issues we otherwise can't. So much of what happens at sea or deployed is either classified, has ramifications in international relations, counters established policies, or wrapped up in politics, both real and interpersonal, that can put individual careers, reputations, or even lives at risk. All these barriers warp nonfiction storytelling to an extent that authors often pull their punches, and their stories devolve, one chop chain or staff socialization at a time, into little more than an industry press release or PAO July 4th photo essay. Science fiction, for both the producer and the consumer, provides an outlet to think about, recognize, and share what otherwise is hidden in the conflicting priorities of our reality. For me, you can find this dynamic in one of the best science fiction series of the last decade, The Expanse. This series is more than just entertaining science fiction, at least for this sailor. What hooked me in the first season was I saw, as you often do in good science fiction, stories that rhymed with things I spent over a decade writing and talking about, and in that less artful way into a much smaller audience on my blog and in my podcast. I found myself seeing a demonstration of what happens when you, for instance, have such an unbalanced fleet that you are forced to have one of your capital ships do simple law enforcement patrols, allow complacency and arrogance lead you to underestimate your enemy, get comfortable with peacetime optimal manning compromises to save a bit of change now, leading to tragic consequences at war later. And more personally, with everyone's favorite Martian, Alex Kamal, we find a retired middling naval officer trying to find place and meaning in a universe when neither work or family seems to fit quite the way he always thought they would. Fiction, while an escape, also gives the reader or viewer a chance to look inward, if not for answers, then at least for more questions to ask while trying to figure the real world out. Oh, and science fiction has, well, space, aliens, interesting things to contemplate doing in zero-G, and an ongoing thread of what-ifs, unbound from all the messy limitations we find while solving the inscrutable details of our own banal existence.